7 shocking things people secretly do because they're horny. Let's face it, horny people are capable of doing some truly outrageous, hilarious, and downright eyebrow-raising things. When primal instincts take over, logic, reason, and dignity often take a back seat. Lust is a powerful force, one that can push even the most rational person into making outrageous decisions that might later leave them questioning their sanity. From impulsive texts to wild escapades, here are 7 truly unbelievable things people do when they're caught in the throes of desire. Number 1. Breaking all their own rules. We all like to think we have clear boundaries, unwavering lines we wouldn't dare cross. But when lust takes the reins, those lines can blur faster than we'd like to admit. Suddenly, that person you swore you'd never hook up with, the one who's a walking red flag, is starting to look real tempting. Maybe it's the ex you've convinced yourself you've moved on from, or the Tinder match you unmatched 3 times because they gave you the ick. Yet, here you are, staring at their profile at midnight, your resolve crumbling under the weight of sheer desire. It's not just about impulsivity. It's about how the heat of the moment can make us justify decisions we'd never even consider when thinking rationally. The experience is universal. Whether you regret it immediately or laugh about it later, it's a reminder of how human we truly are, and how lust can temporarily hijack even the strongest principles. 2. Risking it all for the thrill. Lust has a way of rewiring the brain, making even the most cautious, rule-abiding person throw common sense out the window, all for a moment of sheer, unfiltered pleasure. Suddenly, places that should be off-limits, like workplace offices, empty parking lots, or even an unlocked dressing room, start to feel like the perfect stage for an impulsive rendezvous. The forbidden element makes it all the more exciting, the possibility of getting caught sending a rush through the veins, overriding any logical reasoning. In that heated moment, reputations, careers, and relationships all seem like distant concerns, until reality comes crashing in after the fact. But that's the tricky thing about desire. It thrives on urgency, on that right-now intensity that makes people forget about consequences. Only afterward do they realize that risking it all for a quick thrill might not have been the wisest move. But hey, at least it makes for one hell of a story, if they're bold enough to admit it. 3. Confessing feelings that don't exist. Lust is a master illusionist. It blurs lines, distorts emotions, and convinces people that fleeting desire is something deeper, something real. In the heat of the moment, what was once just a physical attraction can suddenly feel like destiny. The connection seems electric, the chemistry undeniable, and before they know it, words start slipping out. I've never felt this way before. You're different. I think I could really fall for you. Sometimes it's a subconscious trick the mind plays, confusing passion for attachment. Other times it's an outright performance, a way to seal the deal, knowing full well that when the dust settles, those declarations of undying affection will evaporate just as quickly as they came. But the morning after? That's when reality hits. The deep emotional bond they swore they had the night before suddenly feels like nothing more than a well-executed script written by pure horniness. The awkward part? Now they have to decide whether to own up to it or ghost their way out of the situation. 4. Spending money like there's no tomorrow. When desire takes over, it has a sneaky way of bypassing not just your better judgment, but also your bank account. Suddenly, spending hundreds or even thousands feels completely justified in the name of satisfaction or impressing someone. Premium subscriptions to adult sites, lavish gifts for a crush, extravagant hotel rooms for a single unforgettable night, all of it seems like a reasonable investment in the moment. And let's not overlook the pricey lingerie or high-end toys that people convince themselves are essentials rather than luxuries. It's not just about the money. It's about how lust temporarily shifts priorities, making you feel like any price is worth the promise of pleasure. The real question, though, is whether the dopamine rush is worth the financial hangover that follows. Lust might burn hot, but when the bill arrives, it's a cold reminder to check your impulses before they drain your wallet. Number 5. Crossing borders, literally. When desire takes the wheel, distance becomes nothing more than a technicality. People who wouldn't normally drive across town for errands suddenly find themselves booking last-minute flights, driving through the night, or even crossing international borders, all for a single night of passion. The thrill of the chase, the anticipation, the idea that this one encounter will be worth every mile, every dollar, and every inconvenience is enough to make even the most rational person say, "Screw it, I'm going." But here's the catch. Reality doesn't always match the fantasy. Sometimes, the chemistry that felt electric over text falls flat in person. The connection is purely physical, leaving an awkward silence once the rush wears off. And sometimes, people wake up jet-lagged, broke, and questioning every life decision that led them to a stranger's bed in a city they barely know. It's a gamble, one that can lead to unforgettable nights or epic regrets. 6. Sliding into inappropriate DMs. There's no greater testament to lust clouding judgment than the infamous late-night DM. Fueled by desire and a false sense of confidence, people will boldly shoot their shot at exes, acquaintances, or even total strangers, convinced that maybe, just maybe, their message will strike the right chord. The reality, however, is often far less romantic. These messages tend to be riddled with typos, awkward oversharing, or overly aggressive flirtation that can range from mildly cringeworthy to outright embarrassing. Sometimes the recipient responds with confusion or a polite brush-off. Other times, the rejection is as blunt as the DM was bold. It's a classic case of lust overriding self-awareness, driven by the fantasy that the other person might be feeling the same. While occasionally this gamble pays off, more often than not, it serves as a cautionary tale. Maybe sit on that message until morning when cooler heads and clearer minds prevail. Number 7. Risky hookups with total strangers. When arousal clouds judgment, it's astonishing how quickly caution can be tossed aside in pursuit of physical gratification. One of the most unbelievable behaviors driven by lust is engaging in risky hookups with total strangers. This often involves impulsive decisions like meeting someone from a dating app mere minutes after matching, heading to questionable locations, or completely disregarding safety measures. In these moments, the promise of instant satisfaction can overshadow basic instincts for self-preservation and emotional clarity. People often prioritize the physical over the practical, forgetting that true intimacy should also involve a sense of trust and mutual respect. While these encounters can sometimes feel thrilling or adventurous, they come with significant risks, including emotional fallout, safety concerns, or waking up the next morning with a deep sense of regret. It's a stark reminder of how unchecked desire can lead to decisions that defy logic, often leaving lasting consequences that far outweigh the fleeting pleasure. The takeaway: when lust hijacks logic. While these actions can seem humorous or even relatable, in hindsight, they're a reminder of how powerful human desire can be. It's easy to get caught up in the moment, but acting on impulse can lead to regret, awkward consequences, or even long-term complications. The key? A little self-control goes a long way. But let's be honest, who hasn't done something a little crazy in the name of desire? What's the wildest thing you've done? Drop it in the comments below. We promise, no judgment. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell icon for more thought-provoking content.